There's a storm across the valley. The clouds are rolling in. The afternoon is heavy on your shoulders. There's a truck out on the 4-lane, a mile or more away. The whining of his wheels just makes it colder.
Welcome to Community Forum. My name is Priscilla Almquist Olson. I'm your host for Community Forum. Today is August 31st, 2021. Our summer has come to an end, and hopefully our battle with COVID will shortly terminate also. Today it's my very good pleasure to welcome Mark Bresnahan to the program. Mark is a member of the Eastern community, and he has a very, very important message for parents and grandparents about their children, their mental health, and their wellness. So please pay attention. Mark, tell me a little bit about your background, when you moved to Easton with your family and so forth.
Sure. I moved here with the love of my life, Cynthia, in 1993, and then we had our first child in 94, our son Thomas, and then in 97, our daughter Sarah. So we've we were in the community for 27 years and really enjoyed. It's a great community and participated in a lot of things.
Yes, and what's your background? What's your career and so forth?
My career was safety professional, so I have a degree in industrial engineering, and I work for Liberty Mutual Insurance to try to reduce risk in workplaces and prevent injuries.
Very noble cause.
Thank you.
And we're going to hear about another very noble cause in a few minutes. Tell me about that fateful day which changed your life and the life of your family.
Yeah, it was April 6th, 2017. Cynthia and I were sitting on the couch and settling down for a night of watching recorded TV, and all of a sudden a couple vehicles pulled up into the driveway, and I went to check it out, and then we had a ring at the doorbell, and it was Father Jim from Holy Cross Church, Sergeant Brian Humanick from Easton Police, and a couple of other police officers to deliver the news that our daughter Sarah had passed.
She had passed, and what did they tell you? Did they have any more information at that time?
At that time, they did not, other than she had passed while being a freshman at UMass Amherst.
So the event did not happen in Easton?
No, it happened while she was away at school.
And she was only a freshman?
Correct, yep.
So she was 17?
19.
19?
Yep, she was 19. It was her second semester. First semester went great, 4 A's and an A-, getting along with her friends and roommates and stuff. And then just second semester, things, turned south, and she started having some challenges with her mental health, and we weren't aware of it. She was very good at hiding it. She had never had any issues with mental health, or certainly anything that we talked about or dealt with. And then she took her life that day.
And what were some of the symptoms that people around her noticed that would indicate that she had some mental health issues?
It's interesting that for Sarah, others present more, and I think mental health is still a new frontier where we're discovering a lot. One thing I would say that we might have missed was how tired she was. She's always had been a very hard worker and worked hard at her studies and other events and things, but I'd say that was one thing. But she did leave us a note, and she just talked about how she was becoming very anxious, and her anxiety was painful to her.
So so you didn't really have any signs when you saw her, except she was tired. But since she was a hard worker, that was probably very normal, one would have thought.
Yeah, that was our feeling, and just trying to encourage her to, if she needed to take one less class or whatever it might be. But she was never like to do less of anything. It was usually more of things.
So maybe that accelerated the stress.
Yeah, I think it did accelerate the stress. I think some of it had to do with just friendships and some things that were going on, being on her own at school. So, and her ability to deal with it or not. She had told a couple friends the weekend before, and then those friends were trying to help her. And we're still very friendly with those friends. We hold no ill will or grudge about that. And I think that's part of eliminating the stigma associated with mental illness. Is it just wasn't something that people talked about even as recently as 2017, and we're trying to be part of that, where it's okay to not be okay and to go out and talk about it more openly.
And do you feel that it really affects probably more children who are super achievers, who have high expectations for themselves and perhaps from their parents, who, as you say, she had 3 A's and 2 A minuses? And, I mean, it sounds like me. Because that really is a problem, because if you are so anxious that you're not going to achieve the highest grades or make the best performance of your life, then you could feel less than.
Yeah, I mean, that could be part of it, but what we've learned through this journey that we're on is that mental illness really knows no socioeconomic background, no particular type of person, and we're focusing on people 13 to 24 because it is the second leading cause of death is death by suicide. And it can be a variety of reasons. Could be a trauma in their life or anything like that. In Sarah's case, it was just achieving a friendship thing, feeling like she belonged or whatever. But she had a good group of friends, So
and she was a beautiful young woman, and
Thank you.
I hope the camera will zero in on the portrait that you brought of her, and that was her graduation photo from Oliver Ames High School, wasn't it?
Yes, yep, 2016.
Yeah.
Class of 2016.
And tell us a little bit more about Sarah. What kind of a person was she, besides being an overachiever?
She was just truly a family person, really got along well with us and with her older brother Thomas, loved being with her cousins and grandparents. She loved to dance. She was a Dance Express graduate and just really loved DE and the family there. She worked at Northeastern Savings as a teller, so she enjoyed the time there. Truly great. And then she loved to ski. She was part of the OA ski team. She was part of the track team, but she really didn't like running, but she did it for the friendship part, and great program at OA. And she loved to travel. We had family trip to the Caribbean every year, so she loved that. And she had been on the high school trip to Paris and London. So.
Oh, so she went with Evelyn Johnson.
Yes,
To Paris and to
London.
London.
Yep.
Wonderful trip.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's so one of the reasons I'm asking you all this about her is because she's probably the person you would least expect to commit suicide. When you look at, overachievers, because she didn't show her feelings of depression or stress or whatever she couldn't manage. She was good, as you said, at hiding those things. So tell us, what inspired you to start Sarah's Village? And tell us a little bit about the foundation and its goals.
Sure. We named it Sarah's Village just because as part of the eulogy when we began the healing journey with family and friends is, it took a village to raise Thomas and Sarah, and it's taken a village to help us to adapt to life without her. And so we weren't sure what we were going to do, but a good friend and neighbor, Dave McKenzie, gave me this book written by John Troutwine. It's called The Will to Live Foundation. And John lost his oldest son, Will, when he was a freshman in high school. And similar situation, they really had no idea. Will was the oldest of 4 children. And John just details his journey of how they adapted to life without Will and their desire to raise awareness and make a difference in people's lives and remember Will at that time.
So, and so that's part of your mission, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. Our mission is to promote wellness, eliminate the stigma associated with mental illness, and reduce the rate of suicide in our community, across Massachusetts, and across the U.S.
So how are you reducing the rate of suicide? What are some of the initiatives that you have started?
Yeah, I'd say reducing the rates kind of a huge number and a little bit harder to measure any impact at this point in time. We're focusing, we just started, we're still applying for our 501c3 status, but we have been approved to solicit funds in Massachusetts, but we're focusing on the promoting wellness and eliminating the stigma. So in 2018, we brought John to Easton and to Norton, and he spoke to 2,000 students that day and to 150 parents that night. And West Paul, with 1,200 high school students packed in the auditorium, and John was able to just relate to them for 45 minutes, and they gave him a standing ovation at the end. And Wes is like, wow, in my 20 plus years as principal, that was the first time anyone got a standing ovation. So that was kind of the start of heightening the awareness. Now we're looking to take the funds that we raise and go directly into the schools to try to make program improvements. So right now we're working with Dr. Joe Baeta, superintendent in Norton, along with Vinnie Searcy, and we're looking at instituting programs where we can help the students directly. In our first program that still need board approval, but is to bring some health and wellness professionals in to the school to teach kids how to deal with stress and really build themselves for success.
Wow. Those are wonderful objectives and wonderful projects. So tell me, do you have a board of directors or trustees?
Yeah, so the whole thing about, in December we started the journey of, we've had a great relationship with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention and the walk that we're doing. But last year we decided that we wanted to create our own foundation. So in December we started the journey of filing for our 501c3 status. And so we have 7 board members. Of those are 3 founding members, my wife and our son Thomas. And then we have 4 people from the community that have joined us. And then Thomas's girlfriend is a founding member, but she can't be a board member according to...
Who's that?
Thomas's girlfriend, Molly Berner.
Oh.
Yep. She's our director of communications. So.
Well, good. That's somebody you need. That's an
Yeah.
important part,
She's
isn't it?
huge, yep.
Yeah. So you're just brand new. I mean, it's not even a year yet. So you're just getting off the ground. How can people viewing this program help you? And besides, I'm sure, fundraising. And can you give us some contact information so that they can reach your
Yeah, sure. You can reach us through our website, sarahsvillage.org. There you can join our mailing list or follow us on Facebook or Instagram. And there's also a way to just send us a note and get in contact with us if you'd like to talk about something in particular. And then we do have, now we're able to use our donate button on our website. So if you wanted to contribute anything, where 100% of the money that we raise is going to go back into the community. Cynthia and I cover all the administrative costs of the foundation.
Great. So do you have well, you're so young, but I mean, maybe, are you planning on having a referral agent, a referral program, so, or a hotline?
Nope, so there's already, we don't want to redo anything that's already out there. So there's already helplines available. So it's 1-800-273-TALK. So that you can call that anywhere in the United States, and you will be connected to someone that could help you. There's even part of that telephone line is a group for veterans. So there's a lot of people that are impacted by suicide. We lose 20 veterans every single day that die by suicide. So there's that hotline. And then there's a text line, 741-741. And that's, many people prefer to communicate by text, and same approach there. So the Samaritans and a couple other organizations run that in Massachusetts.
I see. The Samaritan's a very good organization.
Yep.
So on your website, you have all the phone numbers and contact information
Correct.
to help people who need it, who
Correct.
need the help.
Yep.
Okay.
If they're in an emergency situation, definitely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what are some of your projects that you see now in the future?
I think it's, we're doing the walk with...
Yeah, let's talk about that. And that's
yeah.
in connection with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention.
Yep, AFSP. So we went to our first walk in 2017, and it's been in September. This year it's September 25th at Borderland State Park. And what we found at the very first walk was that you're feeling isolated, and whether people believe it or not, but there was shame, especially for a lot of people before, about admitting the fact that someone you loved had taken their life as a result of a mental illness. A lot of times people think of mental illness as a weakness as opposed to an illness of the brain. And it should be viewed just as any other physical illness. And there are so many ways that it can be treated, and people can still live healthy and successful lives with a mental illness. So by participating in that walk, there was just a lot of good energy, people in similar situations, and people that had lost someone 20, 30, 40 years ago. And so to be able to see their bravery, the journey that they've been through, and it's gave us hope and continues to give us hope.
So what are the details about that walk? And are you going to benefit at all?
So what we do is this is the fifth walk that we've been a part of. This will be my fourth year coordinating the walk. We have an awesome walk committee that helps organize everything. The very first walk in 2016 had about 173 people participate, and they raised about $20,000. In 2019, we had over 800 people participate, and we raised $90,000. So
wow.
It's seen good growth. There's a lot of people that want to participate and help out, and AFSP does a lot of great things. They use 50% of the money that they raise towards research and understanding mental health issues and programs and treatments that can help people. They do a lot of advocacy, both at the state and federal level. One big thing is in 2022, there'll be a 988 line. So just like 911, so instead of having to remember that 800 number or the text number that I gave earlier, you'll just be able to dial 988 and get assistance if you're under mental stress.
Or if you're a friend and you're there, and you can call 988 and say, please come quick, my friend is trying to commit suicide.
Yeah, correct.
So that's wonderful.
Yes, yep. So and then they also have programming to, that their technical team has helped to put together, raising awareness and different programs. So.
Now, how does all of this help you and Cynthia in your journey to live without Sarah?
Yeah,
what have you noticed?
Yeah, I think it's therapeutic to help others. We kind of have it on our shirts here: be kind, help others. And if we could just prevent one person from taking their life, I just feel that would be helpful. And we noticed it after we lost Sarah. You know, people would come up to us and say, oh, you know, our son or daughter was having problems, and then they had to get treatment and so forth and so on. And I'm like, why didn't we ever talk about that? Why didn't we have those conversations? And a lot of it has to do with that stigma. So I think that's what makes us feel better about what we're doing together, the positive reinforcement, the impact within the community. Sarah left us a note. Only 30% of the people that take their life leave a note, so we're grateful for that. But in the note she said, I know I can get help. And she had told her friends, who she had told the week before, that she was going to get help, but she didn't, unfortunately. But she said, I know I can get help, but I choose not to, because I don't want people to look at me differently for the rest of my life. And if that's not an indication that there's a stigma, I don't know what is. And
Right.
and I don't think that was our household. You know, I don't think it was, you know, man up, you know, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, you got this. I don't think that was the way, you know, we raised her, but it's truly a stigma.
Well, you know, a lot of the feelings that young people get are from their peers, or from the interaction that they have with their peers or with authority figures. Not necessarily their parents. Their parents are, especially in their teen years, they really don't want to relate to their parents, right?
Yeah, there's
So-
no doubt, yeah. And John Troutwine talks a lot about that with his group, and he talks about life teammates and how important it is to look to that friend and to help each other out. And, you know, it's okay to not be okay, and find that. And one thing that was really awesome when he speaks to the parents is, you know, he talks about, you know, how can it was harder for me. I walked, you know, both ways through the snow, uphill to get to school, and now these kids have a car, and you know how easy it is. And he goes, here's the one difference. He goes, you don't have this, and if you make a mistake at 8 o'clock in the morning, everyone you've known in your entire life knows about it by 5 o'clock at night. And so it's things like that that are challenging. I do find through our son and his wonderful girlfriend Molly that there's definitely greater compassion building within the younger generation to help each other out. And but I think it takes the community as a whole to come together to really try to embrace this and make it okay to not be okay.
You know, years ago when I was growing up in Easton, there was that sense of community. People really did care for each other. Children who were mentally challenged were not put in institutions. They were at home. You saw them in church. You saw them on the sidewalk. You talked to them as if they were normal, and they were to all of us. And we cared about them. And I can remember my mother telling me once that the mother of a gal who was mentally challenged, that I befriended her in school, and how much it meant. I would go and sit and eat lunch with her when everyone else would just, you know, not everyone, but some people. And it's important. So as far as that goes, that piece, how do the students react? Do they somehow have a sudden awareness that they have a responsibility when they see a friend who's mentally challenged with stress or whatever? Do they have a responsibility to go to the parents, or to not just to speak to them, think that they can help on their own, but that they try to get help outside their little friendship circle?
Yeah, an acronym we use that we learned through an organization called MindWise is to act. So you acknowledge that your friend is having difficulty and something is truly bothering them and it's causing them to be depressed or perhaps have anxiety, and then you show compassion, so really listening to what they have to say and some understanding. But then you tell someone, you tell a responsible adult who can help that person get the help that they need. So that could be a guidance counselor, an adjustment counselor, it could be the parents, whoever can help them out.
Well, I think today most of young people do see that as a responsibility because they're frightened.
Mm-hmm.
They're frightened for their friend. And so sometimes fear is a great motivator. But your program, really getting the word out there, gets them to understand that they have responsibility when it comes to their friends. Just like when I was growing up, you know, you didn't let anybody drive drunk.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have to admit, I never did have a beer in high school.
That halo is still in perfect condition.
I was a goody two-shoes, but that proved okay. That was proved all right for me. But I know there were people who didn't, and I know that there were friends who wouldn't let them drink, you know, more than 2 beers, and certainly wouldn't let them drive.
Mm-hmm.
My son, for example, and that was when I was growing up, my son was always the designated driver in college. And he told me that once. I said, "Yeah, right, Eric." He said, "No, Mom, I am." He says, "You know, I don't really care so much for the drinking.
Mm-hmm.
You know, besides, I'm a football player." Of course, now he's a Hollywood film producer. But back then, he was the designated driver.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was wonderful. I don't know where that came from, but I really appreciated that. So kids are, I think today, much more concerned, and the fact that you're bringing that out, you're making people aware, and parents. I mean, the parents have to be aware too.
Yeah, it's not easy to raise children, you know, and life in general is hard, and so there's a lot going on, especially both parents working and so many commitments and a lot of things going on. So I think having parents see some of that signal, like Oliver Ames has a program, you know, where they do a survey, signs of suicide, things like that. If that came across our desk at that time, you know, we were like, that's not us, you know, that doesn't happen in the Bresnahan household. We don't need that. And I think just acknowledging and having some open conversations around that, and you know, who you may or may not be surprised who that might be, you know, fall in as a candidate. A very good friend of ours, he's very direct. If I ask him a question, he will tell me the truth. And, you know, I asked him, I said, you know, what is the likelihood that you thought that Sarah would take her life on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being, I'm surprised it hasn't already happened, to 1, not a chance? And he said 0, you know. So it's trying to help these people feel comfortable and that they can share, and pointing them in the direction of where they can get help.
Yeah. So there's so much that needs to be discussed. I know on Facebook there are Easton sites,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes these subjects come up, especially when our local police officer committed suicide. And I don't recall the communication around that conversation. But I would hope that if it happens again, that people talk about the steer them to your organization and to the American Foundation for Prevention of Suicide, and you know, because that's and to talk about parents and young people, if they see someone struggling, that they tell somebody, you know.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, so grateful for our police and you know, fire department and then those who serve our country, but you know, a lot do suffer from PTSD, and I think those are the challenges for them. And you know, more officers die by suicide than they do in the line of duty. So it's that's the kind of thing to help out. They, you know, when the police officer and Father Jim from Holy Cross came to our house, you know, they signed up for that extremely difficult duty. You know, sometimes you don't always understand to protect and to serve, and you know, they're serving us by coming and being with us at the most difficult day and time of our entire lives, and just to be there to help us out as needed, but to step back until our family and friends arrive. So we're forever grateful from that standpoint. But there's a lot more to the challenges associated with their positions and their roles.
Yes, and I think the military personnel, many of them faced horrendous, unbelievably horrible life and death situations, and they see death and they commit it. And you know, if you're brought up the way most American people are, you want to be kind, you want to be gracious, you want to help other people, and you know, thou shalt not kill is like the least of your concerns, but it's the most sometimes of these military people. They have a duty to protect themselves and their fellow soldiers. And to do that, I mean, they must have terrible flashbacks, you know, and that is a challenge. And I think we can all understand that. We can all visualize that. My dad talked about, my dad was, one of the biggest regret was they wouldn't allow him to be part of World War II because his job was needed at home. But his best friend went, and it was so horrible, he could never talk about it. And my father asked him, you know, what was it like? I can't tell you, I can't talk about it. And I think that is a tragedy, because you've got to talk about it. You've got to really get it out of your gut and cry and scream and whatever it takes, and get some guidance from professionals, but also to get embraced by the people who love you.
Yeah, I'm the youngest of 6 boys, and certainly, you know, in our house, you know, talking through things, most things were settled physically and good physically, but you know, but certainly I've learned over the years, and certainly since we lost Sarah, that it is very good to talk openly about things, and to, it can be painful at times, but it's certainly helped us to talk to people about our journey and the tragedy of losing Sarah, and so.
Well, you have made a wonderful contribution, not just to suicide prevention, but also to the Easton community. And we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And we wish you all the success. And I know you will have it, because you have that burning desire to make a difference and to help, be kind and help others, as your t-shirt suggests. So we thank you for coming and explaining to us about Sarah's Village and about your journey. And those of you viewers who are listening, please take note of the website, sarahsvillage.org, and look on Facebook and Twitter, and be a part of the prevention team, because that's what it takes. It takes a village, it takes all of us, no matter what the cause is, no matter what the problem is, we all have to work together. And so I thank you again, Mark Bresnahan, and wife Cynthia, and Thomas, is it?
Yep.
And his girlfriend Molly?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Awesome.
I guess I haven't lost all of my marbles.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Well, we appreciate your coming and making us all aware of your organization. And so please support this wonderful organization with your funds, with your time, and with your creative ideas, because I'm sure if you have an idea, put it on their website. Let them know that you care, and let them know that there are other events that can happen, or other goals that they can have to make this a safer place for all of us. Thank you for watching. This is Priscilla Almquist-Olsen saying adjö, goodbye, or in Swedish, hej då. Until next time, be well.
Thank you.